Educational GMAT. Your partner in your GMAT journey.
This is quite an interesting one, official question. Think about it. This does confuse people a lot. The language confuses people a lot, actually. In a factory that produces computer circuit boards, 4.5% of all the boards produced are found to be defective and are repaired before being sold. But 10% of all the defective boards are sold without being repaired. That does seem to be a slightly confusing language. The question is, what percent of boards produced in the factory are defective? How do we do this? .5% of all the boards produced are found to be defective and are repaired before being sold. But 10% of all the defective boards are sold without being repaired. Now, see, one of the ways we can do is, since we are talking about percentages, right? So let's assume that total number of boards that are produced by the factory are 100. And let us say X are, out of these 100, X are defective. And notice the question says what percentage of the boards are defective. So in this case, basically, we just have to find out the value of X, right? Because we assume that the total number of boards is 100. So the value of X will also represent the percentage. Correct? Okay. Now, here is the thing. Out of total of X defective boards, that would be very high, 45% defect. 4.5. So notice defective as per the question, right, would fall into two categories. What categories? Some boards are, out of these defective boards, some boards are repaired before being sold, right? Repaired before being sold. And some are sold without being repaired. Agreed? These are pretty much the only two categories. All right. Now, can you tell me how much is this based upon the question? Very nice. 4.5% of all the boards. How many are all the boards? 100. So 4.5 of these 100 are in this category. Agreed? So this is 4.5. Now, how much is this category sold without being repaired? 10% of all the defective boards, right? Defective boards is X. 10% of X falls in this category. Agreed? So 10% means this will be 0.1X. Correct? But this plus this has to be how much? Obviously X. Because these defective boards, right, are either in this category or in this category. So then what equation do we have, guys? That X is 4.5 plus 0.1X. Right? So then 0.9x is equal to 4.5, which means x is equal to 4.5 by 0.9, which would be 5. So that's the answer, 5%. Mind you, x is actually the number of defective x minus 0.1x, that is 0.9x, is equal to 4.5. So x, by the way, we assumed as a number of defective boards, but since this is out of a total of 100, which means basically the value of x that we get ultimately also represents the percentage. So 5% of all the boards produced in the factory are defective. Are we clear? So this is perhaps a very simple way, or I have assumed I did not assume this as 100. You could have assumed this as total number of circuit boards produced is X, and let's say defective is Y. So we have to find out what percentage of boards are defective. So Y by X into 100 is what we have to find out. So defective and repaired is 4.5% of all the boards. So this is the total number that are defective and repaired before being sold. Defective boards sold without being repaired is 10% of all the defective boards. So 0.1y is defective boards sold without being repaired. Again, same thing. Basically, total number of defective boards is equal to total defective boards repaired without being sold plus defective boards sold without being repaired. So this would again bring you to the same answer. So we convert it into percentage and arrive at 5%. All right, slightly tricky question, slightly tricky question.